So we inside the S5. Finally, the official review. The no-wheel drive 229 Calvin. And this is my 2013 B8.5 Audi S5. So I'm basically gonna just kind of break down the whole car, things I like and don't like. I guess some stats first of all. I believe it's 333 horsepower and 325 torque, if I'm not mistaken. But that is to all the wheels. 0 to 60, I think the best one they've gotten is about 4.8 seconds. And I'm happy to report that it does feel reasonably fast, especially off the jump. Like initially, this is a pretty fast car, especially because I have the stick shift, so I can dump the clutch. So the initial takeoff is quite brisk and it feels really good. As far as weight, I think we're around 3,800, 3,700, there we go. So that's just a couple of stats. Of course, the most important one that you have to factor in, especially when purchasing a car, is the price. And you can find a certified one of these for around $40,000. That's pretty much what you should expect to pay for a certified pre-owned Audi S5. Do I think that's too much? Yes, but I'm gonna get to that shortly. But that's just some basic stats, but more so the feel, I guess. Let's get into it, because the interior I think is where we should start, because that's something Audi does like the best of. Like, I got every single option in here that you can get, I believe. It's got the carbon fiber inlays, it's got some more on the door, it has the Bang & Olufsen sound system, which I could talk about for like 20 minutes because that thing is bonkers. Like, the sound quality is top notch. I'm trying to think of a better one. I'm sure the one in the Mercedes is better, the S-Class one and all that. The Mark Levinson might be better, but it's one of the top 3 sound systems, wouldn't you say? Definitely. Name 4 better.
I wasn't a fan of the B&O, honestly.
What?
It distorted too easily for me.
Whatever.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like the B&O. I think the best one is the Burmeister that Mercedes and Porsche offer.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
Followed closely by the Mark Levinson that Lexus offers in the Lexus LS and GS. And I think as far as factory systems go, I don't know. I kind of think I feel like I like the system in the BMW better. The individual audio in the BMW, the top of the line one. I like it better than the B&O. The B&O may be right up under that. I'll give it that, because it's definitely not bad.
Right.
I would give it that up under that one. So maybe 4th for me.
Okay. But definitely a very good sound system and a very top-notch quality. Like, when you sit inside the cabin, and I mentioned this in the 5 things I love, everything is top-notch. Like, you can't really find much to complain about, am I right or wrong, on the interior of the car. Even down to the stitching. I mean, even the stitching is perfect. No corners were skipped. Like, if you get in a similar American or even Japanese car, maybe less with the Japanese, but definitely American car, you can see where they kind of put plastic places and skip little corners. None of that in here.
And I'm a stickler for interiors, and I like Audi's interiors. They're some of my favorites.
Right. Immaculate interior. So if you're looking at the S5 and you just kind of want something that's very comfortable in comfort and feel and luxury is what you're looking for, then definitely this is going to be high on the list and may be worth the money for you. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely I give this car about an A, maybe an A+. Not an A+, I think the Mercedes gets A+. This car definitely gets an A on the interior. So kudos to Audi for that. But moving on to more what the car guys are going to care about is the performance. Now, like I mentioned, it's torquey, but there are several factors that are kind of negatives about this car. Okay, now I personally have the stick shift, which is really great. The clutch, the throw feel is amazing. And so that brings it up a little bit above the dual clutch. Because to me, this car in a dual clutch, especially for at a brand new price of $65,000, kind of underwhelming. Yeah, it's kind of underwhelming performance. I'm sorry to report that, but it's just the facts. After going any speed, I would say above 60, kind of starts to really die down. And part of that may be the weight, because this is a heavy car, especially for the horsepower. 325 or 333 isn't a lot of horsepower for almost 4,000 pounds. So the performance is helped by the Quattro system, but depending on where you live, that's kind of irrelevant. And so you would be better off saving the weight of an all-wheel drive system and just getting a rear-wheel drive car, depending on where you live. Now, if you live in the snow up north, then this might be the car for you, because then you're definitely gonna have the upper hand. Like Calvin, if me and Calvin ever run and there's any trace of water on the streets, losing badly.
Or dying.
Or that. But at least in this car, as far as traction goes, you don't ever have to worry about traction. So you're gonna have traction, weather, takeoff, all that. But it's not that fun. It's cool, but it's not fun, if that makes sense. It's real cool to always have traction and to be able to take turns hard. But to be honest, I would much rather be in something rear wheel drive, because it's not fast enough to make the all wheel drive fun. It's kind of like a catch-22. If it were rear wheel drive, then I'm sure it would probably have enough power to be fun, break out a little bit. But it needs to be a bit faster for the all wheel drive to be fun. Like, I'm sure like a GT3, even though it's all wheel drive, nobody complains about that. A Huracan's all wheel drive, nobody complains about that, because it's
kind of justifiable with that kind of power.
Right. I mean, and it's obviously not going to be anywhere near that power level, but even if it was a bit more, then I feel like the Quattro system would be more warranted.
And that's kind of why the 335 dominated that whole sector, S4 versus 335, because it was rear wheel drive, same amount of power, much more fun.
Yep.
Because that power level just fits rear wheel drive a little bit better. Because you can get tires that'll hook up 300 some horsepower. I mean, it's not hard to hook that up.
So that's how it goes as far as traction, but the suspension and everything feels very comfortable. No real problems with that. You could definitely daily drive this car very easily. I mean, you'd be perfectly fine, even in sport mode, because I have it in dynamic mode. I always keep everything on the dynamic mode, which is sport mode, and it's very comfortable. The sound, though, we need to talk about that for a while in the review. The sound, I like how the engine sounds. I don't think Calvin likes it that much, but it almost sounds like a transformer got caught in the engine or something. Like, it sounds...
Vacuum cleaner got caught in the engine.
Yeah, I think it's the supercharger, but it sounds cool to me. Like, it sounds like something interesting is happening under the hood, and you don't quite know what it is, but you go fast. At least initially, you go pretty fast, so you're like, well, it must be something good happening. So,
like a few years ago, when I first moved into my apartment, I was vacuuming the house, and I caught this shirt in the vacuum cleaner. That's essentially how this car sounds to me. Like, when I was trying to get that shirt out of the vacuum cleaner, and the vacuum cleaner kept making that weird noise, that's what this car sounds like to me.
I'm gonna try to hit it one time for him. Let me see. Let me downshift on him. I like it.
That's the shirt coming out.
I guess y'all can be the judge. Hopefully the sound will come through reasonably clear in the audio, but I like the sound. However, whether you like the engine note or not, something you can't deny is that there is no exhaust noise. Now, you can put an exhaust on here. I think AWE makes a pretty good one. That's pretty much the only good one I've seen.
From the videos I've heard, it sounds really good too.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. So if you definitely throw an exhaust on here, it can be good. But once again, for the price, I feel like they could have made it a bit louder. I feel like they could have made both the S5 and the RS5 louder, respectively, because they're both overpriced. So both can add some stuff. But with the exhaust wouldn't be bad. But stock, non-existent almost.
From my perspective, from driving the S5, I actually drove an S5 before I got my M3. And as you can see, if you watch my Why Did I Choose M3 video, I didn't even mention it because it got eliminated early. But what I do remember about it is that takeoff was great. Takeoff was really good. It was really impressive. Cornering was pretty good just because, like you said, it's always drive, there's always traction. And it feels like you can take a curve at any speed that you want to. And you're always gonna hook the road. But the thing I don't necessarily care much for with the S5 is that it kind of falls flat on its face once you hit about 60, 70 miles per hour. And for me, and I mean, you don't get to use it much, but for me, I love a car that pulls like a train. Like a car that, like, you don't know when it's gonna stop pulling. It's just gonna keep pulling. S5 does not do that. I think like a 0 to 150 time in this car was like 32.5 seconds. I'm not waiting a half a minute to hit 150. Like if you ain't done it in 20 something, then forget it. 32.5 to me is ridiculous. I mean, you're not gonna run that often, but still, that just kind of shows you once again that somewhere in the power band from 4.6, 4.8, 0 to 60, and then 32.5 to 150, somewhere in there the S5 just dies. Like the motor just drops out of the car. So that was a big thing for me, is why I didn't go with the S5. I just didn't like the price. And you gotta kind of, for that price range, it's about what you expect. I haven't looked up what 335 does 0 to 150, but probably about the same. So I guess for the price range for that sector is about average, maybe.
Exterior wise, I would say for the sector is one of the better looking ones. I mean, the 435 looks good too, but this car looks really sleek. I think that's the best word.
I think it's the best looking one in the sector.
I mean, those headlights kill.
Yeah,
those are like some of the best.
I think if you didn't see an RS5, you would be like, oh yeah, that's one of the hardest cars on the planet. Until you pull up beside an RS5, you're kind of like, huh.
Right. But the daytime running lights are awesome. The LED tail lights look awesome too. Like when you pull up somewhere like at dusk, like I noticed I get a lot more compliments on my car like at dusk and dawn, when you can just see the daytime running lights and that's it, but it's still dark, so they pop. And when the tail lights pop, it's kind of a stunning car actually. With the 5-spoke design on the wheels.
It's an M4. It's a vert though.
Yeah. With the 5-spoke design on the wheels, it's a very good looking car. I don't think you can complain about how it looks. Like I don't think that would be the reason you don't get this car, is because you're like, I don't like how it looks.
The look is almost what sold me on it. That was the reason I went to look at it.
Right. So it looks really good at least. To wrap it all up, I would say that if you're a true car enthusiast, then this is not the car for you, which is probably why I'll be getting rid of it soon. It kind of falls in a middle ground. So if you're like a person who somewhat likes cars and somewhat likes to stomp it sometimes, enjoys the manual, because like I said, I would recommend getting the manual. The manual is really good and it's better than the DCT. Don't get the DCT.
Yeah.
It's all right, but
this car doesn't need a dual clutch.
Yeah.
With the power level, it doesn't need a dual clutch.
Yeah,
it's like it doesn't need all-wheel drive.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. But if you get the manual, then this is a car that you can have some fun in and still be really comfortable. So I think it's just a slightly fun daily driver.
My opinion with Audi kind of remains the same. They never can quite prove me wrong. Audis tend to be cars to me that kind of feel like something that like your chick would drive. Like it's not really like performance oriented like that, and it's not ridiculously comfortable to justify saying it's a pure luxury car. It's somewhere in the middle, which is not a bad thing, because Mercedes does that a lot too. But it's just, to me, for a performance car, to market it as a performance car is a little ridiculous, because it's not that. But it is a really good car if you like something that's like a good daily driver that you can stomp on here and there, take a few curves on here and there, and be satisfied with that. It's good at that. And then I wanted to mention too that I kind of feel like Audi should take everything, like you said, turn it up a notch. I think like for example, if you go with the 5s, the A5 should be dropped. The S5 should be where the A5 is. The RS5 should be where the S5 is. And then there should be something right above an RS5 that's a little bit more of a competitor for the M4s and C63s of the world. Simply because Audi can't really compete with those cars on the track or in a straight line, but they tend to be the most expensive. So I think they should just move everything down. I always say I feel like every Audi should be dropped 10 grand in price. If they did that, then I would consider one, but until then, I'm not a big Audi fanatic. I love the way they look. I think some of the greatest looking cars on the road, but that's where it ends for me.
I think they can definitely turn everything up a notch, and like you said, shave about 5K at least off all the prices. All of them. They're all overpriced. Everything. Because the A5 is like 40, isn't it?
Yep.
You told me that, I'm like, kill yourself.
Damn, like 40 grand on the A5, I think that's ridiculous.
Like, you should kill yourself, let us code you, bring you back, intubate it, and then die again. Like, no. So, that's our review of the S5. Is there anything else we should say?
That's all I can think of.
I mean, like I say, it's a solid car, but if you're a car enthusiast, there's better ways to spend your.
Yeah.
Like, looking back on it, knowing that I'm a car enthusiast, I think that the Camaro SS, even though the interior isn't as nice, nearly as nice actually,
No.
the added performance probably would have made me happier than the slight loss in, like, the difference in performance is like this much, and the difference in the interior is probably like that much.
Yeah.
And you don't care when you like can't even hear yourself breathe because of the V8. What is it in there? 6 point something V8.
6.2 liter V8. I think.
Yeah. It's bad when you can't hear yourself breathe. So that's what I think. But overall, it's been definitely a good car. Probably gonna get rid of it soon though. This has been just a general review. As always, definitely go and check one out yourself. Look at pictures, look at videos online. Definitely check one out with the AW exhaust. That does sound pretty good. And like I said, let us know what you think. Let me know what you think I should do. Do you think I should keep the S5 and tune it and lose my warranty? So probably not, but let me know if you think I should do that. Get the RS5 or the SS or get the Corvette. What's the other option?
M4.
Or the M4 or the C63.
My vote goes to the M4 or C63. I think M4 fits him a little bit more than all of them, but my vote goes that way.
I will say, I think that RS5 looked like me. As far as just look.
As far as looks go, the RS5 looked the most like you. And the RS5 is a pretty decent car. Like I said, I would choose the RS5 over the S5 if it were me. I would just spend the extra, especially in the used price range where you can kind of play with prices a little bit more.
Right.
I would personally spend the 7-8 grand more for an RS5 or an S5. But the fact that M3s and C63s exist kills the RS5 for me.
Yep.
But if I just had to choose between those two, I would definitely go RS5.
So that's just a quick review. D and Calvin, No Wheel Drive 229. Comment below, like, share, subscribe.
There's a button up there that says subscribe. You should press it because that'll make you subscribe.
Right. Anyway, it's another beautiful day in South Atlanta. Y'all have a great day.